and the rest of your guardian, what you might call angelic beings, angelos, start to approach, you had to be reprogrammed as a being. You had to be prepared for beings that when they talk to you, they talk straight at you. They don't talk in belief. They don't talk in approximates. They don't talk in parables. That's why I look at the Quran, it starts in chapter 2, it says, and Allah has a parable for you. And you go, it is the word mathalan. The likeness is the word they're going to use. And you say to yourself, that almighty, powerful, boundless God of all the universe has to speak in parables? Can't he just say, don't do that? Does he have to do something like, the doing of that in accordance with the results of the doing of that, which results in a very tragic, just say, nigga, don't do that. It would be a heck of a lot simpler for me. The Quran would be less pages, more people would read it, and things would get on. When you open this book here, to the book of St. John's, let me see what it says here. It's a nice little book. It's still a nice book. It says here, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things was made by Him, and without Him there was not anything made that was made. In Him was the light, and the light was the light of man. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth it not. Why is it necessary to do all of that? Let me see what he was trying to say. There was a beginning, and there was a word spoken in that beginning, and that was God. And the word that was spoken was light. And the light made life. That's why it is man. Simple. Why does God study Shakespeare? Why does he have to emulate Shakespeare? Why is it that God does not want every individual to pick up this book and get a clear understanding of it? Why must we have people to come along and give us tafsir of the Quran, interpretations of things? Why isn't the Quran so clear that everybody that picks it up would understand it? The Quran tells you it has no intentions of being clear. It starts off alif, lam, mim. 3 letters. Then it goes ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. Sounds nice. Most of you are going, what is he saying? Let me tell you that most Arabic-speaking Muslims are also saying, what is it saying? And they say it in Salah, and they're still saying, because I did it for 50 years, not 50, 40, before they click the light on. Said, what is it saying? So you go back and say, brother, what does alif, lam, mim mean? Those are 3 letters. A, L, and M. They're the initial letters of the Surah Al-Baqarah of the Quran. What do they mean? They say, nobody knows. Any ex-Muslims in there? Don't be ashamed to hide now. You know you're here. All I had to do is yell Assalamu alaikum when I came in. Y'all what is on? When it came out in there, you wasn't there. No. They don't know what it means. Yet, the Muslim world will hold up the Quran and say, this is undisputed guidance. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. This, al-kitabu, book, la, no, raiba, doubt, fi, in it. They literally open it with there's no doubt in it. And then when you ask them, what does those 3 letters mean? They say, I don't know. And some I wish I did know with doubt. What does that mean? It means that the initial writer knew that anybody who started after that and called it unquestionable or undoubted was a believer. Thus they call themselves mu'minun or mu'minat and mu'min. We are believers. The word mu'min doesn't even mean believe. Come on, amen meaning faith. And faith is damn near as bad as belief. But you're still asking me to subscribe to something that's not been confirmed. You see that? But as we approach the time, or what they refer to as the information age, we are being informed by our beings or ancestors, or as I often would say, descendants, because they're descended. They are triggering you now. They are opening you up where you have the ability to be prepared for their presence. Because in the state of mind that most Christians and Muslims are in, if Jesus came out the sky, they wouldn't know what the heck to do. They're waiting in his hand, the reverend saying, I'm telling y'all that Jesus is coming now. Soon now. But if Jesus walked into their church, and it was an Ethiopian Baptist church, and Jesus had blonde hair and blue eyes, which is the kind of games that God likes to play, or walked in a white church and had a big old afro, which is the kind of games God likes to play. Whether you like it or not, we got away with games. We can go into God's games if you want to play. Whether you like it or not, we got away with games. We can go into God's games if you want to. What would happen? And he walked into the Church of the Black Madonna right now in Atlanta, and he had blonde hair and blue eyes and said, I am Jesus. They would throw him out the church. And he walked into a KKK church. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know it's true. And had a big old whoop-whoopy-doo afro. Big old Michael Jackson afro about and said, I am Jesus. They would throw him out the church. Well, I think it's a little biased to say that they would crucify him in the KKK church, but they wouldn't crucify him in the Black Muslim church, because the Black Muslim church is equivalent to the KKK church. The same ignorance prevails. Whether you want to accept Farrakhan as the Grand Wizard or not is your business. But anybody with any intelligence sees that he is just as dangerous as the Grand Wizard in a philosophy that teaches people to hate each other. When nature does not segregate in what I call God's games. The people right now in Canada that are buried under ice and living in shelters by the thousands are not really concerned with their religious doctrine or dogma right now. Most of them are concerned about heat and a sandwich. Some warm clothes and a place to sleep and a sandwich to eat. You follow? And they would share that sandwich with a white person, all black person, anybody would share, because nature, Reverend, nature is bringing the reality to us. Because nature doesn't segregate. Humankind is way past their limits on the planet. You are supposed to be gone ever since you started taking needles or vaccines to survive. When you have to immune your body against nature, when a child gets all these vaccines, nature is basically saying, I want y'all out of here. I want y'all off my planet, out my house. Because y'all are menace to each other, every animal, every tree. I want y'all out. So now when the baby's born, the doctors tell them, you must get at least 16 shots, I think we talked about before you're 16 years old. Or you have any of a number of diseases that would kill you. Who is providing these diseases? God. There'd be no diseases if God didn't want diseases. Are you hearing me? Now you say there'd be no AIDS if God didn't want it. There were some men, they went into a laboratory and they experimented and they came up with this germ. Yeah, but God gave men the intellect to go into the laboratory, and God made those type of germs that could come together and be that deadly and designated the time for it. You know how I know that? I know that because you believe in this Bible. And this Bible says, according to your belief, that the people in Sodom and Gomorrah were homosexuals. And they didn't die of AIDS. So what happened? God got a new idea? Blowing up homosexuals and destroying cities ain't good enough? So he came up with a bacteria? Why aren't you looking at it that way when they say AIDS is a homosexual disease?
AIDS is a man-made, genetically engineered virus that was either accidentally or deliberately introduced into the world's population. AIDS is not a homosexual disease. AIDS is not a venereal disease. AIDS did not originate from the green monkey. AIDS is not prevented by the use of condoms. And AIDS is not likely to ever be cured by a vaccine.
The reverends. This is Jerry Falwell, the Moral Majority, and Billy Graham, and Reverend Price, and Reverend Swagger, and Reverend... Well, he wouldn't say that. He got no sugar in his own shoes. But most of them are saying that God brought AIDS into existence to eliminate homosexuals. And they go back to Genesis and say, God sent angels down from heaven to eliminate homosexuals. Thousands of years ago, he had to use a method of blowing up the city. Now God uses germ warfare. Doesn't that sound like God belongs to the United States of Negro? Because thousands of years ago, or hundreds of years ago, in the First and Second World War, they were blowing up people. Now people came back from Desert Storm and they're complaining because of germ warfare. So please listen to what I'm saying. So you're telling me God used bombs like in Hiroshima and Nagasaki a long time ago, and now God uses AIDS, germ warfare, like they did in Gulf Freeze. Don't you see that some man wrote this and he has God stepping down through history with him? And he has modernized God's judgment up to the level of his. And he can't even take God beyond his level because it ain't God writing it. And if it was, you'd be able to go into this book and find something in here, or the Quran, the Bible, or the Quran, that is non-earthly. It would be a cue to you that this is from somewhere else. But you can't tell me anything in these books that are not related to earth. And when they tell you and me about, this is not really funny, but hell, Betty Shabazz already had hell. Now, if she was a wicked woman, what would she be getting being she got burnt to death already on this side of things? You hear me? What would be her judgment? Would God have to come up with a new system, a new kind of fire? But in here, fire is described as sulfur, fire and brimstone. Go into the Greek and research. It uses the elements of the planet. And all of us are familiar with fire in its many forms. Right? Right. And oxygen is needed to keep it burning. Right. God speaks about rivers in heaven. Hydrogen and oxygen is in heaven. The tree in the garden, it had to grow before Adam made it. Now, did God come down with some angels and plant a full-grown tree in the garden for the sole purpose of testing Adam and Eve? Or did they plant seeds in the garden and wait for it to grow? Listen to me right now. God came down to earth where there was a garden and no tree. He plants a tree, nurtures the tree of good and evil, lets it grow, and then sends some chapter 3, verse 1. Oh, wait, I went all the way to Genesis 24. What am I running? Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made, not created. And there's a difference in there. So this being was cunning. That's what subtle means. Manipulative, conniving, shrewd. Right? And then I sent a little innocent girl. Because I'm assuming being Adam and Eve was just born. Unless we queuing on the age. If I'm saying, being Adam and Eve was just born, they will come into the garden with a big diaper on. And God had the mat waiting next to the tree for them. The master con artist was waiting next to the tree, and in comes Eve, and he goes, obviously, because he calls him the whisperer. He goes, psst. And he goes, yes. Come here, let me tell you something. Let me see what he tells her. Here's what he said. Unto the woman, yea. As God said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden. That's what he said. Did God tell you not to eat of every tree? This is a tree God grew, y'all. Waited for it to grow. Then created the poor innocent woman, directed her intelligence towards the tree, while at the tree the devil was waiting for her, who was conniving, manipulative, and subtle. Okay, but this is what y'all want to believe. Show me. So let's see what happens. And the woman said unto the serpent, well, can I go back with a little bit? Snakes do not talk. Hello, ma'am. I have yet to be a snake. I heard a parrot. He say something. He can do it. God made it possible. God said parrots can learn to talk. But hell, there ain't a snake anywhere that has a voice box and can talk. Alright? We got that first? Yeah. So serpent is somebody's name. Like an old friend of mine from the GINDJAB day, we used to call him Snake. We said, what's up, Snake? Now, in the event that he got in the Bible, oh, he could talk. He could talk. He didn't talk very well, but he could brother talk. That's how he talked. So I don't think he would even understood him. And the woman said unto the serpent, now she's talking back to a snake. Now, come on. You walk in the garden, see a snake around a tree, and the snake says, come here. And you will go, yes. You're talking about sending your children somewhere being unprepared. I didn't jump from the Old Testament to the New Testament and come up with the same kind of unprepared child of God. Because Jesus was like, oh, my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass by me. I will now. I know kind of different, but it's that. You know what he was talking about? He was talking about the crucifixion. Jesus did not want to die. Which means the whole story of Jesus being born and knowing he was going to die was a lie. Because if Jesus was born the Son of God and knew he was born to die, he would not have said, oh my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. He would not have ran when they were trying to catch him. You follow? If he knew this from birth, why was he afraid? What do they mean by, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do? If God's plan was for his Son to come down and die for our sins, his Son would have been a willing sacrifice, something they stole out of Abraham's story in Isaac. But his son Jesus, if you read the Bible, did not want to die. Like the Pope did. Now, why Jesus didn't want to go back to his father? They said that he fell in the garden and he sweated blood. Homeworld was really gone. I want to see one of y'all people there bend down and pray and sweat some blood. You know how hard homeboy had to be praying to change sweat into blood? But this is fake day and time. This is reality time. And this may not sound or sit right with your fancy, but until you can prove it otherwise, then you're going to have to deal with it. Until it shakes that spell of ignorance that is making us hate each other all over the world. And we the people, we're supposed to do something about the people that rule us that don't have all their marbles. Whether they rule us from the pulpit or Congress, wherever, we got to check them out. And we've got to get to the point where please don't get angry at me, where you're doing what I'm doing to people, and you tell people ahead of time. Don't get angry with me because I'm not a believer. Don't get angry because I'm not spooked out. Give me some concrete answers. When I finish talking for a little while, I will ask that brother right there to step up and sit over there so I can take that seat, and I'll let any one of y'all who want to come up here, who say you Jesus, or say you Muhammad, and you want to get up there and talk to us so we can ask you some questions, you can have this here. But don't get mad, because every time I ask questions, people get mad at me. Because I go directly at you. I don't hold no punches because I'm dealing with the one thing that anybody or nobody can tamper with. And that's my soul. That's all I got left. They ain't took it with me. Tell me that I have a destination in paradise, on the right or left or beneath or up, wherever, next to God, I am going to question you. Because I'm not going to spend the last days of my life sitting in a church or a mosque or synagogue humming with your ass to die to find out it ain't true. I want to know ahead of time. And if you can't prove it to me, don't be angry because I'm not a believer. And if you want to say, I'll go to hell, then hell, I'll go to hell. But I'm not going to no ignorant heaven. And to add to that, if the kind of people like Mother Teresa, the Pope, and the religious men I met in the Islamic world, if they're in heaven, I don't want to be there. I don't want to go to a place where you sit down forever and do absolutely nothing. I don't want a couch with rivers flowing beneath it, with angels running around feeding me. I don't want to do that forever. I'd rather struggle on earth trying to get a job than to sit in the playground and do nothing but look at flowers all day. You can do that in an insane asylum. The nearest I've ever seen on earth to the heaven is an insane asylum, where a bunch of people are sitting around in the day room with clean clothes and nothing to do. They are promising you when you die, you are going from insanity into an insane asylum where God will be with you, and that makes it okay. Well, I'm not that kind of fellow. So that's why I sit back and I look at this and say, well, let me go on and talk about this. And if the Reverend can defend himself, I'm with him. If he can't, he gets mad, he just has to scratch his ass and get glad. Don't mess up my soul because he's confused. To keep some oil in his Cadillac. He ain't doing it to me. Alright, you understand? Let's do it now. And the woman said to the serpent, what's she doing? She's talking to the snake. If I was walking down the street talking to a snake, where would they put me? Things that make me go. She said, now first of all, he's talking to her. This is women for you. We, if she includes us, she done pull us in and had him somewhere drunk probably. He didn't know what the grapes would do to him. He just ate the grapes and got drunk. don't know. See, you don't know. That's what most of us men do. We don't know. Y'all got to forgive us. You know, when women get together, they call us dumb. We dumb. And so, we may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden. That's all. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, ye shall not touch it, neither you shall not eat it, neither shall you touch it, ye shall die. Die. God told Adam and Eve, or Adam or Eve as she incorporated that, don't touch this tree. All the other trees you can touch. This one here, don't Adam or Eve as she incorporated that. Don't touch this tree. All the other trees you can touch. This one here, don't touch it, because the day you touch it, you're going to die. The word here is mut in Hebrew. Dead. It's not allegorical, it's not spiritual. The Hebrew word is mut and means dead. Not, you know, like not fucking moving ever again. Cease breathing. Add the name is John, they add ED like John on the end of it. Dead. You got to be real. That's what it says. Dead. Now God said if you eat that stuff, I'm gonna kill your ass. You got me? Now that's clear to me. You wouldn't have to tell me that twice, not God. You don't have to tell me that once. I said, I got you. The servant said, I said, who are you, man? How do you get the balls to even question the big, the cheese? I want to know who are you. I wouldn't be questioning God. I would be questioning the servant. Now one time in here, she started to say, oh man, who are you? Right. Why he can't kill you? Why can't God kill the devil for introducing them to the fruit and introducing them to disobedience to God? Why is it that God can't kill the devil? Did you ever ask yourself that? Yeah. You know why you don't ask yourself that? Why? Because that question walks hand in hand with the question is why is there evil on the planet? And if God didn't want all this corruption and evil and hate and racism, couldn't he? And shouldn't he just go poof and it be gone and it just be the most loving, beautiful place? Why must the rose die? Why must the rose die? And why must it have a thorn? Why must I be deceived by nature when I see a rose? And I go, that's such a beautiful, the first time. Boy, that's such a beautiful flower. And I love her so very much that I'd like to rip this beautiful flower out the ground and kill it to give it to her and show her that I love her. And so I reach down in my loving concern with her at the base of the rose and go, ouch. God damn.